Hey there, Twins fans. It's almost Thanksgiving, and with that, of course, I want to try to have 2 episodes of Twins Spotlight every week. Today, hey, let's play two, right? It's a baseball show. It's let's play two. At noon, I had an episode that hopefully some of you have seen, and if not, be sure to check that out. I was joined by, no, not the Bachelorette, Michelle Young, but Saints broadcaster Sean Aronson. We talked about his time growing up a Dodgers fan, listening to Vince Scully, some of his broadcast background, including with the Fort Myers Miracle for 4 years before joining the St. Paul Saints. I think he said this is his 16th year with them. So we had him on and we talked about a lot of things, including the Saints switching from independent baseball to an affiliated team with the Twins. So with that, let's start talking about our show for tonight. And to do so, our guest tonight, the star of the show, is left-handed pitching prospect, 2021 draft pick, Christian MacLeod. He went to Mississippi State and signed this summer with the Twins. He made one appearance in the FCL. We'll talk to him a little bit and get to know him. So just a reminder, we are on the Twins Daily platforms on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. If you're on any of those and you happen to be watching this and you want to ask a question to Christian or, maybe even just a congratulations or whatever, please feel free to do that. We'll get that right on the screen. So without further ado, let's bring on the star of tonight's show, Christian MacLeod. And I should have asked, did I spell that right? Or pronounce it right?
That's perfect. Capital L and everything.
I know. Perfect. Well, it's first of all, thanks for joining. Second of all, how is this off season going? Are you taking any classes? Or are you done with school, or is school completely? Are you enjoying your first non-school off season?
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me. First off season been good so far. I still got a little bit of school left, but kind of pushing it off for a little bit. I'll probably go back and finish here in the next year or so. Just kind of get it out of the way. I only have about 18 hours left, so not too much. But yeah, off season been good so far. Just living in Atlanta and working out at a gym here, and just started throwing, and everything's been going good.
Awesome. I want to start at the front and we'll go chronologically ahead. What are some of your first memories as far as playing ball, watching ball? What was it about baseball that kind of brought you to that?
Yeah, so history of my dad. He grew up playing baseball and played professionally. So ever since I was born and was able to walk and throw a ball, I just fell in love with baseball, and being able to sit on the couch and watch games with him growing up. And I thought it was the coolest thing in the world that my dad played professional baseball. And I was always wanting to play. I was always begging him, let's go play catch, let's go hit, let's go do something. So I've always had the love for the game, and it's still there. So
let's talk about that briefly. Your dad was drafted by the A's in the late 80s and spent, I think, 4 years in playing in the minors. Guessing he's probably shared some stories with you, because those A's teams of the late 80s were, first of all, they were the Twins' big rival. The Twins won in 87, and it was always Oakland and Minnesota, 89, 90, 91, 90, maybe 92. Has he been a guy that tells you a lot of stories? Obviously, that was probably 10 years before you were born.
Yeah, he's told me a few of the stories. He's told me about the minor league life, and how much he enjoyed it, and just how many friends he made along the way. He's got one pretty cool story in particular that he likes to brag about sometimes. But first batter he ever faced in the minor leagues was King Griffey Jr., and he ended up striking him out twice. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I like to share that with some of my friends. I thought that was a pretty cool story.
I mean, that's as good as it gets, a Hall of Famer, and I mean, obviously a 500 home run guy. And no, that's a great story, and I'm sure there's more, and maybe even some that you can't tell or he hasn't told you. But anyway, so you started playing. You're from, I think you grew up in Huntsville, right? Huntsville, Alabama.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What was your youth like? I mean, was it weekend tournaments, interleague, little league, or were you doing more traveling already at a younger age?
Yeah, so starting off at a younger age, probably 5 through 10 years old or so. It was pretty much just local around the Huntsville area, maybe just traveling to Birmingham, which is about an hour and a half south. Kind of when I got to that 10 years and up range, that's kind of when travel ball started off, and you started making the longer trips. You'd have that once a year trip down to the beach to play in the World Series, and when I got to high school, started getting a little bit older, started getting into the college recruiting stage. You go to the perfect game events and things like that, just trying to get the exposure that all the other kids were getting. So, as I got older, a lot more travel involved.
For sure. Now, did I see? It's always fun. I always enjoy these first interviews, and you kind of getting to know players. So you do a little research ahead of time if you want it to be halfway decent. Were you on the varsity five years?
I was, yes, sir.
And I mean, how was that being an eighth grader playing probably with? When I was in high school, I was a ninth grader playing with 8 seniors, and that scared me. I mean, it's intimidating. How did you handle being an eighth grader? Playing with older players.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. Growing up, I was just like, I want to play for the high school team so bad. Like, just whenever I made the high school team as an eighth grader, that was like a dream come true. And being able to pitch on the varsity team that young was pretty special. We had some guys that were going to play in college, and my mentality was, I'm playing with guys that are going to play in college. Like, at that time, I didn't really think about even having the opportunity to play in college. So just being able to be a part of that team, and it was a pretty good team. So just being a part of that was pretty special in itself.
And again, that's the voice of Christian MacLeod, 5th-round pick for the Twins this year out of Mississippi State, where he had a pretty exciting, I would say, 2021 season. But we'll get into that in a minute. Again, I want to welcome, if you're watching on Facebook or Twitter and want to leave a comment or a question, please feel free to do that. Josiah is watching on YouTube tonight, and he just simply says, welcome to Twins territory, Christian.
Thank you, Josiah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for that. And again, feel free to join the conversation here. You mentioned perfect game. I happened to see a picture. You got a baseball card from playing on perfect game. What was that experience like? I mean, were you invited? Was it something you wanted to do? Had you had maybe former teammates that had played? What was your, I guess, expectation and experience on the national circuit? We may have lost Christian for a minute here. Let's bear with this for a second. I'm going to keep talking. Hopefully he's close by. All right. Can someone leave me a comment? Just let me know this is working. This is some great radio and podcast right here. By the way, while we're experiencing this right now, please know that this will be available on the Twins Daily podcast shortly after we're done here. So be sure to download that if you can. Looks like Christian's left the building right now, and we'll try to reconnect here, and hopefully that will happen. But yes, this will be on the Twins Daily podcast. Again, I want to mention you can get that wherever you download podcasts. Be sure to do that. We're joined by Christian MacLeod, and again, the 5th-round pick of the Twins out of Mississippi State. Mississippi State, the Bulldogs this year, of course, did win the College World Series. So we're going to talk a little bit about that here in just a minute. Hopefully he'll rejoin us, and let's bring him back in.
Sorry about that. My wife has gone out.
No, you're fine. I was wondering if it was mine.
So we were talking about perfect games. So that was something I got invited to a couple events, but fortunately I played for a pretty good few travel ball teams growing up, Nashville Knights and East Coast Sox, and they always did a really good job of putting us in those kind of events in front of college and professional scouts, and getting us the exposure, because I mean that was their main goal, was just developing and getting their kids scholarships and letting them play at the next level. So I was fortunate enough to go play in some of those events, play against some really good players, and get some good exposure.
Did you always pitch, or were you a hitter as well? Maybe in those events, just pitching, but I mean, did you play another position? Did you hit? Could you hit? We may have lost him here again. At least we ended on a smile this time here. All right. Again, Christian's having some technical difficulties. I don't think it's mine. I've got pretty good connection right at the moment, but we'll see if this works here. He'll be back shortly. Bear with us. We got lots of questions for Christian, and obviously a guy just getting started in his professional baseball career. So again, be sure to stick with us here. We'll continue here as we get going. Now, a lot of Twins news lately. I'm going to actually bring up Twins Daily while we're waiting for Christian to return. Or maybe he's still on his end talking. He's going to try it again here. I'm going to bring on the Twins Daily page. We got so much content right now. It's really pretty impressive how our writers are doing just a great job of providing content. So be sure to go to twinsdaily.com. Believe me, I know I have to edit it all and schedule it and things like that. And a lot of days we're getting 4, 5, 6 new articles a day. So check that out when you've got a chance. We've got just posted article on the Arizona Fall League and the 7 Twins prospects that participated there. Obviously, there were 40-man roster decisions. Player from Japan has been posted as available should the Twins be interested in him. And we shall see. So let's bring Christian back in. How are you?
I'm good. Hopefully, third time's a charm.
Third time's a charm.
My Wi-Fi went out, so I'm using my hotspot on my phone now, so hopefully that works.
Okay. Well, I think the question was whether or not you could hit, and I didn't know if that was just something you didn't want to answer.
No, I hit a little bit kind of in the early travel ball days, but once I got to about 16U, I knew if I was going to play in college, it was probably going to be on the mound, so I started just focusing on that. I still hit with my high school team throughout high school, played a little bit of first base,
Okay.
but other than that was pretty much it.
And pitching. What was it about pitching that you enjoyed? Was it just the one-on-one with the hitter? Was it working with a catcher? What are some of the things that you most enjoy about pitching? Maybe it's just getting strikeouts.
Yeah, I definitely like that part of it. I just like kind of being in control of the game. I feel like giving my team a shot to win every game was pretty special, and just having that bond with the catcher. And I feel like pitching is just a thing where you can work on so much, and there's just a lot of things you can do with it. And also, my dad was a pitcher growing up, so he was a left-handed pitcher as well. So he was able to teach me a good bit, and I just took it and went with it.
Terrific. All right. Again, if people have questions, please feel free to ask those to us or send your congratulations, your questions for Christian MacLeod, and we'll continue. So, what was the recruitment process for you? I imagine a lot of scouts are at those national circuit, perfect game types of events, so your name's out there. But what was the recruitment process like for you, and what made Mississippi State, which obviously is a longtime national powerhouse, what made that the right choice for you?
So pretty crazy recruiting story. I was actually originally committed to University of Oklahoma. They ended up having a coaching change, and started talking to some SEC schools and ACC schools that were a little bit closer to home. Being from Huntsville, University of Oklahoma was about 13, 14-hour drive. So once I started talking to some of those schools that were in the SEC, talked to the Auburn, Alabama, Mississippi State, the Vanderbilts, all those schools, I knew I wanted to stay a little bit closer to home. And, I went and visited Mississippi State, fell in love with the coaching staff there, and loved the campus, loved the new baseball stadium. So I knew that was just the place.
Absolutely. And I mean, again, the Twins have drafted, say, Brent Rooker from there, and really lots of players over the years. So talk a little bit about your freshman year, you redshirted. And honestly, again, bringing up Brent Rooker, I know he redshirted his first year, said it was the best thing that happened to him. How was your redshirt experience? Was it planned? Were you expecting it? And, how did you progress during that time?
It wasn't really planned, but I got some really good experience. Just being there on the weekends to, I was fortunate to watch a guy like Ethan Small, who's a left-handed pitcher, went first round for us in 2019. Just getting to see, how some of those guys went about their business, like the weekend starters, getting to watch what they do, what the routine was. I felt like it really paved a good path of things that I wanted to do, and following their footsteps, following their routines, and just helped me learn a lot, and kind of helped me be better prepared for 2020 season and 2021.
So in 2020, I saw you made 4 starts, which is pretty cool. I mean, if you were redshirted the first year and you're suddenly making starts at Mississippi State, that obviously says a lot. Um, and did well. 4 starts, 21 innings, 6 walks, 35 strikeouts. You had to be excited. Things were going well, and then came the pandemic. So, talk a little bit about those 4 starts and how much that meant to you going into the season, and then how tough it was to kind of lose that year.
Right. Yeah, it was tough. 2019 redshirting. Had a little sickness, couldn't really play, and then leading into 2020, I was excited to get out there and pitch in front of full stadium. You watch in 2019, you see the super regional. If you search that against Stanford, I mean, it was a packed house, 15,000 plus, and they're just going crazy. So I was looking forward to that, and finally got to start. Made my debut against Wright State, and it was a pretty packed house, and getting to experience experience was just really hard to describe. Experience it for your same there, but that's something.
All right, we might have frozen up again here. There you are. You back?
I'm back. Did you hear me?
Yep, yeah. It was a little choppy, and then
Uh
it was like frozen, and then it came back. So I'm going to ask a couple more questions from Josiah, just to again encourage those. If you got questions for Christian MacLeod, feel free to ask them. But Josiah says, "How did you manage the fatigue this year?" And this year you made 19 starts for Mississippi State. Obviously, a long college season. How did you handle this after very little innings last year?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that go into it, and staying healthy and not getting fatigued. A lot of that is having a really good throwing program, having it planned out and sticking to it, staying consistent with it. And another big part of it is just working really hard in the weight room. Fortunately, at Mississippi State, we had a really good training staff and good strength coach. So between each start, I was able to get 3 lifts in, keep the body strong, keep the body moving, and then during the week, I was able to get my throwing in, get bullpens in. So it was a very structured plan, and I felt like that played a huge role in staying strong throughout the entire season.
All right, another good question, Josiah. We'll make sure to get to your other question that you've got here, kind of as we get going. But talk a little bit then about your 2021 season. Overall the numbers didn't look as good. I know it, kind of got to be a long season, but you were one of the top starters. You and I think is it Will Bednar, and I think he was a first-round pick. You were a fifth-round pick. That's a pretty good starting staff. So going into the season, what were your hopes, and how did you do relative to your goals?
Yeah, I mean, goals going into the season was obviously win a national championship, and just put my team in a position to win every Friday night. And I feel like I did a pretty good job of it. There was some starts that weren't as good as the others, but that's part of a long season. There's going to be starts that aren't the best. There's going to be starts where you're dominant. So it's about just working at the season, and just trying to put your team in the best position to win. And that was my goal each time out there.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little about the College World Series, playing in Omaha. You mentioned it was a goal to play in the College World Series, but and a win a national championship, which of course a lot of people are like, okay, there's the goal. But at Mississippi State, that's a legitimate goal every year. But you get to Omaha. Was that your first experience with the College World Series?
It was, yeah. We went my freshman year in 2019, but since I was redshirt, I wasn't on the trip because we're only allowed to take 27 guys out there. But I was able to experience it this year.
Okay. Yeah, and what was it like? I mean, it's one of those trips that every baseball fan considers and puts on their bucket list, what was the experience like as a player? I imagine it was just exciting the whole time, right?
It really was. We were excited just getting out there. We knew just the first time we were able to practice on the field and you see the stadium in person for the first time, it's amazing. And fortunately, Mississippi State fan base is super passionate about baseball. So we traveled really well all the way from Mississippi and throughout the country. I know when we're in the championship series against Vanderbilt, it was pretty crazy. The stadium sits about 24,500 in that range, and I think there's only about 1,000 Vanderbilt fans, and the rest was maroon and white filling the stadium. So that was pretty special.
That's fantastic. And then there was a parade when you get back home, and I mean, I just imagine you work with these guys all year. It's a long season, especially after a tough year last year. I mean, it had to be pretty special to win that title.
It was, yeah. It honestly it took a while for it to sink in, and I really don't know if it has yet that we finally got it done. Because you think back to how many great players played at Mississippi State, like Brent Rooker, and you think about Rafael Palmeiro and Will Clark and all those guys, and to think that we're the first team that finally brought a national championship home, it's pretty special, and it really hasn't sunk in yet. And it kind of did for the first time, with the parade, and then we went and got our national championship rings a couple weekends ago, and you finally sit back and you think back watching the videos. It's just kind of amazing. You're like, wow, we really did it.
What an experience. I can only imagine. All right, real quick, just a reminder, we're talking to Christian MacLeod, left-handed pitcher out of Mississippi State, selected in the 5th round this year, I think in July by the Twins. I want to talk a little bit about your pitches, kind of in college, and I mean, kind of incorporate that somewhat into, where you're at right now, maybe some of your off-season stuff. To do so, I'm going to include this video into our discussion, and if it sparks any memories or anything on your pitches. But let's just start with the basic question: what pitches do you throw?
Four-seam fastball, changeup, curveball. I use a spike grip, and when I got down to camp with the Twins, started working on a slider.
Okay. And again, bringing Josiah into the here, he asks, what's your favorite pitch to use, and what do you consider your best pitch?
That's pretty tough. I like using my fastball a lot, but I'd say my favorite pitch and my best pitch would probably be my curveball. I've always thought that my curveball is my out pitch. That's my go-to with 2 strikes. So I'm trying to put a guy away. I feel like it's a really good pitch for me.
All right. And then the question I like to ask is, when you're pitching well, like, you have a game, and I know that you had set some marks for number of double-digit strikeout games in college, and I know you've got a lot of strikeouts. I think 13 per 9 innings throughout your minor league or your college career. When things are going really well for you, what's working? What's going on, maybe in your head or with your arm? I mean, what's working when you're going good?
Really just getting in a good rhythm. I'm kind of a guy that likes to work fast on the mound, so it's a combination of that and then just being able to mix speeds, having a good idea of who's at the weaknesses are, and use my strengths at the same time. So it's a little bit of balance between just getting in a good rhythm, pounding the zone, and going right after the hitter, plus just mixing speeds and going right after them.
All right. So this year, the draft was later than normal, so you're already done with the College World Series. What was your interaction with scouts this year? I don't know if you had any scouts maybe in high school, probably, especially at the events. But how was the scouting and recruiting or scouting process different for you this year than maybe in the past?
Yeah, so it was a little bit different from high school to college. High school, there's a few more like in-home visits and things going on that way. And it was different this past year just because of COVID. A lot more things got moved to Zoom, and ended up doing a lot of Zoom calls with scouts, upper office people. And that was pretty much the main difference, was just not as many in-home visits, just a lot of phone calls, questions over the phone, text message. It was a lot more just over the computer. But question wise and stuff that they do was pretty much the same.
Okay. And I believe your area scout was Matt Williams this year with the Twins. Did you have a lot of conversation with him or with the Twins, or um, did you see equivalent or even more maybe with other teams without necessarily giving them team names? But where did the Twins rank as far as how much they were, um, for lack of a better word, pestering you or talking to you or communicating with you?
Yeah, I'd say it was right up there with every team. I had the Zoom call with them. I text Matt a little bit every now and again, like every other team. But I had a really good relationship with Matt. Really enjoyed the Zoom call that I had with them in the fall. So yeah, I mean the Twins were uh, texting a good bit and everything. So it was a good relationship.
Okay. Um, and then talk about the draft day. What was going into your draft day? Fifth round. So I mean, I don't know if you had any inkling that maybe you were a day one guy, but day two is, that's a lot of rounds covered there. What were you hearing leading up to the draft? And when the Twins took you in the fifth round, is that around where you were maybe hearing from from coaches, from scouts?
Yeah, I think maybe a little bit before the College World Series. I was probably second to fourth round range is kind of what we had thought, and then after the World Series had two kind of rough starts out there, and I think I just dropped a little bit from there, and then ended up going in the fifth round. But I was super pumped. I was surrounded by family during the day. We're in Birmingham at my brother's place, and it was just a really special day, and it's something I'll never forget. Just being able to go out and celebrate with family afterwards, and just being surrounded by so many people that I love, and it played a huge role in my baseball career so far.
And I mean, probably a little bit too detailed, but I'm always curious in the little things like, um, how did you find out that you were being drafted? Were you talking with an advisor? Did the Twins call you? Was it Matt Williams or was it Sean Johnson? What was that like when you found out, or did you find out first just from watching online?
Yeah, so we had the live stream pulled up, but it was mainly just talking with my advisor, texting him back and forth, seeing what teams were saying, getting an idea of where I might go, and then advisor ended up giving me a call, telling me congratulations, you're going with the Twins. And then a little bit after, I think it was like 10 minutes after I got off the phone with him and the pick had been made, talked to Matt Williams for a little bit. So that was how that went.
What was the process like for you after that point? Did you get some time away, or was Matt calling you right away as far as offering a deal? Did you want to take some time away, before signing? What was your mindset after the draft, before signing?
Yeah, so we had the deal and everything made on draft day. I was a little bit late getting down to Florida to sign it. I had actually had COVID during the draft, so or a little bit like right after the draft, so it was a little bit late getting down there. But once I got down there, I was able to sign and get building up and being with the other guys that were drafted this past year as well.
Absolutely. So you get down to Fort Myers, and again, the Twins drafted a lot of college guys after the first couple of rounds. Was it kind of, you mentioned it already, I know, but getting to know your draft class, getting to know some of those other guys that were in the FCL, getting to know the coaches, some of the front office. I mean, just talk about just coming to a new experience. Is it basically the same as the day you got to Mississippi State and probably knew very little or very few people?
Yeah, it's definitely different viewpoint than college. I definitely like it a lot. I'd say I like it a little bit more than college. Just it's different being around guys that are kind of all over the country. We had guys that played at UCLA, got guys from up north, down south. Yeah, I mean, it's just people from all over the place. So being able to meet those guys, hear everybody's kind of story, where they played college ball at, and just getting to meet so many new people. That's something that I really enjoy, and then just having so many different pitching coaches and talking with the hitting coaches as well, and just getting to meet so many new people that are awesome. I enjoyed every second of it while I was down there in Florida, and I can't wait to get back there for spring training.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I mean, I kind of alluded to it, but did you or did you know anyone with the Twins organization when you were drafted or when you went to Fort Myers? Is there anyone that you've either played with or knew or anything like that beforehand?
I knew Reggie Grace a little bit before I got down there. He was committed to Mississippi State
Yep.
the same year I was in high school. We graduated high school the same year, so
Great.
we had met each other and talked on our official visit. So that was, I think that was the only person I knew going into it.
Okay. And then, obviously the Twins even just said, especially for the college pitchers, you threw a lot of innings, a long season. They don't necessarily care about getting you a ton of work in games during your draft year. But talk a little bit about what you were doing. I know you made one appearance right at the end of the season, but what was going on in the interim? Were you just kind of getting back into your program or learning new things, or what was the process for you after signing?
Yeah, a combination of both. Getting the arm back in shape, getting back into throwing bullpens and everything, and working on some things as well. Like I mentioned earlier, we started working on the slider pretty much immediately. That was something I kind of went into camp down there wanting to learn. I felt like learning a fourth pitch would be super beneficial for me. So that was something we agreed on and started working on immediately. And I feel like it's kind of become a good pitch for me. It needs a little bit more work, but I think it has a lot of potential, and just working on a few other mechanical things, and finally got in shape enough to get into one FCL game before Instruct started.
Was that important to you to just get into one game, just to, I guess, have your pro career started officially? Was that something you really wanted to do?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely wanted to get the pro debut out of the way before heading home for the first off season. I didn't really know what to expect when I got down there. I didn't know if we'd be put in games right away or if it'd be live ABs or what it would be. So I was excited to be able to throw my first pro game and get it under my belt.
Absolutely. I think you had 5 strikeouts in an inning and 2/3. So you got 5 outs, and all 5 came on strikeouts. Again, this is Christian MacLeod talking to us here on Twins Spotlight. Again, be sure to check out Twins Daily on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and again, this will be on the Twins Daily podcast wherever you download your podcasts from. Momentarily after the completion here. So again, last few minutes here with Christian MacLeod. We've already taken up a half an hour of his time, but it's just kind of fun. At Instructional League, which was right after the season ended, it's a little different because you're not necessarily playing the games every day, but you do play some games. What was that experience like for you? Probably a little early to necessarily have a lot of planning into what you wanted to accomplish there. But what was kind of your mindset during that 4 or 5 week period?
Mindset going into Instructs was just learn as much as I can, be a sponge and soak up as much information as possible. And, I felt like I was able to do that, just talking to other guys in the organization, talking to the pitching coaches, just trying to learn as much as possible. And I was able to work on some things like the slider a little bit more, work on just some mechanical things. And, they have all the pitching coaches in the organization down there. Some of the coordinators and everything. So getting to work with them on a daily basis and just getting to work with everybody down there was awesome.
And probably meet some of the people that were playing in Cedar Rapids, maybe, or that kind of thing too,
Yeah.
and other coaches and coordinators. What was I going to ask? It's never good when an interviewer forgets the question he was about to ask, but the technology. And again, Mississippi State's a big time baseball program, but I know the Twins have a ton of technology with the Rapsodo and all the different machines and technologies. And things like that. I probably shouldn't have shown that video, huh? But were you used to that? What was your, I guess, learning curve on the technology side, and how much have you used that in the past?
Yeah, so we had a little bit of we had the TrackMan, Rapsodo, the Edgertronic camera. We had basically everything at Mcleod, and we were able to use it a decent amount. I learned a lot when I got down to camp with the twins. I had known a little bit just from my time at Mississippi State. I knew about like the vertical brake, the spin rate, some of those things, but hearing some different terminology down with the twins, it kind of brought a new perspective, and it's something that I really liked, and I felt like I was able to learn a lot and help me, kind of use things that help the kind of pitcher I am, like metrics with the fastball, metrics with curveball and slider, change up, helping those pitches play off each other really well. So getting to use all the technology down there, I felt just helped all my pitches as a whole.
And I know one thing that the current Twins player development is big on is encouraging individual work plans and off-season goals and all that kind of stuff, but that you're part of that discussion. They're not just telling you what to do. It's your career. How is that kind of breaking into that discussionary type of thing? Do you usually feel comfortable just saying, hey, here's what's worked for me in the past, I don't want to just lose that? Or what are the areas that I can improve? How did that, I guess, communication work for you over your first months?
It was good, working with the pitching coaches and everybody in the player development's part of the organization. It's about finding what's comfortable for the player, and working on things. Something might not be comfortable right off the bat when you're working on it, but it's just finding what's comfortable eventually, and what's going to lead to your success. And I feel like the Twins do a really good job of that, and it's something that I really enjoyed being a part of. Just for the couple months we were down in Florida, was I feel like we're working on something productive every single day, and something that is only going to help us be better overall.
All right, last couple of minutes, last few questions with Christian MacLeod. What do you have planned for the off season? At what point do you kind of start pitching, start working out, start thinking 2022 season?
Yeah, so started throwing some plyo balls about 2 weeks ago. Throwing a baseball started this week actually. So just getting started with the throwing program, keeping it pretty light to start out, and then eventually start bullpens here in about a month or so, and just getting work back and getting ramped up for spring training. But weight room wise, just hammering the weight room, trying to put on a lot of muscle, and just eating healthy and trying to be as strong and healthy as possible leading into spring training.
Awesome. And you were drafted in the 5th round. Your dad was drafted in the 10th round. Talk a little bit about that relationship. Is it encouraging, or do you guys already say, okay, he got to Double-A, now you've got to beat that, or is it a competitive thing at all?
he joked a little bit at first. He was like, "Dang, you split me in half. I was 10th, you were 5th." So he joked with me a little bit there, but no, he was just super pumped. He's always been one of my biggest fans, and I think it was just a really special bond, special day on draft day. Hearing my name called. I know he was excited about it, so it was just it was just really special. You think about all the hard work that we had put in together, all the trips down to the field, and uh, hard work pay off. So he was excited about it as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, fairly briefly, but at the same time, it's one of those dangerous questions. Who are some of the people that have helped you get to this point in your career, even beyond your dad, your parents, some of the coaches or whoever it may be? Who are some of those people that have gotten you to this point?
Yeah, there's definitely there's a lot of people, and I'll probably end up leaving a few out. But pitching coaches growing up, Ricky Deal, Roger Wright, my high school coach, David Sharp, he played a huge role, and definitely one of the bigger roles in why I'm here today. With the college recruiting opening back up, decommitting from Oklahoma, committing to Mississippi State. And then definitely cannot leave out one of the most important is college coaches, Coach Lamonis and Coach Foxhall and Coach Gotro, taking a chance on me to come to Mississippi State and, giving me the opportunity and giving me the ball on the weekends and letting me compete for them. I definitely wouldn't be with the Twins now if it weren't for my time at Mississippi State. So, can't thank those guys enough and can't thank the fans and just everybody at Mississippi State.
No, that's awesome. All right, last couple questions and more of a lightning round kind of thing. Growing up in Huntsville, did you have a favorite team? Was it Atlanta or one of the Texas teams, or who was your favorite team growing up to watch?
Yes, I liked, believe it or not, I liked the Dodgers a decent amount growing up. My dad worked in LA some, and he brought me home a Kershaw T-shirt one time, and I thought that was the coolest thing. It's pretty cliche for left-handed pitchers to say their role model growing up was Clayton Kershaw, but he was definitely one of my pretty cool.
Kind of choppy there a little bit, but you mentioned Kershaw, and I think you said that he was your role model. Do you kind of emulate your game at all off of him, or were there other maybe lefty pitchers that you looked up to and kind of grabbed a little bit here and there from?
A good bit. Another one that I always thought I was pretty similar to, just mechanically and stuff wise, was
We may have lost a little bit of connection. I think you said John Lester was another guy you looked up to, just the mentality that he pitched with. Is that a good summation?
pretty bad.
No, you had mentioned, I think you said John Lester was a guy, and also maybe his mentality on the mound, or was that what you were trying to say? And he's been disconnected here. Hey, we want to get him on real quickly just to ask those final couple of questions. We'll try to finish her out here and be done in just a couple minutes. So again, if anyone's got any last minute questions, please feel free to ask, and we'll get those asked. But if not, we're gonna close her out here pretty shortly and see where this takes us. But again, we're joined by Christian MacLeod, and again, if you're watching on Twins Daily YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, be sure to download those, forward those, include those in your discussions and forward and your social media and stuff. And it looks like we got Christian back. Maybe. Christian, can you hear me? All right. I don't know if he can hear me. I'm not hearing anything and that. So I'm going to kind of keep talking here. And Christian, if you're able to hear me, we'll try this one more time. But I want to encourage, if you're listening to this or watching this, check out Twins Daily, twinsdaily.com. Lots going on there. Like I said earlier, I'm editing four to six articles every day. So be sure to check those out and we'll get those. This podcast will be available shortly after we're done here, and we'll go from there. That looks good. That video looks good. We got it going.
I'm sorry. Connection's been rough.
No, that's totally fine. I think you said John Lester, right? Was that the second lefty that you mentioned?
Yeah, John Lester just kind of touched on his mentality, kind of having that bulldog mentality on the mound, being aggressive, going right after hitters. That's always something I've tried to emulate, just going right after hitters, trying to get them in and out of the box and get them back in the dugout.
Absolutely. And last question, and I'll let you go here. I'm a big believer, and you can't play baseball and throw and pitch all year round. So, even during the season, you got to kind of get away. What are some of the things that you enjoy doing when you're not playing baseball, when you're not at the field, when you're not at the gym? What are some of those things when you're not preparing for your season that you enjoy doing? Maybe it's a hobby, maybe it's a second job, maybe it's some learning experience, maybe it's movies or net streaming and things like that. So, what are your things away from the game?
Yeah, I love to play golf. Every chance that I get, I love to go play golf, and I love this time of year. College football going on. Being around SEC country, it's nice. I've been able to travel to a few games at Mississippi State and been in the Auburn area, seen a couple games there. So love just making my way around the South, seeing some good football. So I'd say those are probably the top two things, and then just watch other things like hockey and things like that on TV.
I was going to say, you're right in the middle of SEC football country. That's got to be all you hear about at this time of year.
It's entertaining. Yeah. Well, all I went to high school with was Auburn and Alabama fans, so they're always going back at each other. So it's all fun.
And did you play football? Did you do other sports in high school?
I did not. I only played baseball with the school, but I'd play a little bit of basketball and things like that just with some friends on the side.
All right. Very good. Well, unless you've got something you want to tell Twins fans, I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I appreciate you doing this. We kind of tried to get this happening here for a week or so, but it worked, and this worked was great, and I've certainly enjoyed it. Hopefully you have as well. And again, congratulations. Great career at Mississippi State, the national championship, getting drafted, making your pro debut, and we'll see what happens next year. Hopefully we'll be able to see you in Fort Myers next spring on a regular season, and we go from there. But good luck with the future, and enjoy your off season.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on today. I really enjoyed it. Sorry for the couple problems with the connection, but I had a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad, and thank you. And it's coming in perfectly right now for what that's worth. So
Hey, at least we finished strong.
we finished strong. So with that, thank you to Christian MacLeod. Thank you to those who listened. Again, check out Twins Daily, twinsdaily.com, the social media, and it'll be on the podcast shortly. We'll probably be back next week with a couple new episodes, and stay tuned to Twins Daily to find out more about those. Thanks again, Christian. And of course, we got to end the show with Go Twins.
Go Twins.